Our keynote speaker is the most retweeted person in the world among digital marketers, a New York Times best-selling author of 5 books. He's the president of Convince and Convert, a strategy firm that helps the United Nations, Oracle, Allstate, and other leading brands take their digital marketing and online customer service from good to outstanding. He's a tequila collector, a certified barbecue judge, and writes the world's #1 content marketing blog. Hold on to your seats. Here comes Jay Baer.
And I am deceptively youthful looking, but I have been, thank you, madam, I have been in marketing now for 25 years, and even 3 years ago to suggest you would do something like this would have been crazy. You couldn't get approval for it. But it's not crazy, it's smart. I call this concept of useful marketing utility, Y-O-U, utility. And the definition of utility is quite simple. Utility is marketing so useful that people would pay for it. So what we find now is that relationships are created with information first and people second. If your information is good enough, your customer will allow you to graduate and actually interact with them on the phone or face-to-face. So the better you teach, the more you'll sell. So what I want you to do is give yourself permission to make the story bigger. And by 2020, according to Walker, customer experience will overtake price as the key differentiator. Think about that. That's 5 years from now. Customer experience will be more important to your customer than price. So what this means is that instead of ignoring the people who complain, we need to embrace them. The people who complain about your business, the haters, they're not your problem. Ignoring them is. 80% of companies say that they deliver exceptional customer service. 8% of their customers agree. So we've talked about this multiple times today, and I completely believe this to be true, is that customer service is the new marketing. Everything else about your business can and will be stolen by your competitors. They will copy your products. They will copy your price. They will copy your marketing. They will copy your social media marketing. The one thing they cannot copy from you, the one thing they cannot steal from you, is whether or not you fundamentally care more about your customers than they do. That is not stealable. It is not copyable. That is your competitive advantage. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're running a conference or you're making tequila or you're running a food truck. At some point, some of your customers are going to have feedback, right? That's just the way it works. Haters are not your problem. Ignoring them is. What you need to do instead is to hug your haters. To hug your haters. And what that means is that you answer every complaint in every channel, every time. Every complaint, every channel, every time. Instead of what we do typically today in business, which is to answer some complaints in some channels when we feel like it. Right? That's what we actually do, most of us. Now, does this require time? Does this require effort? Does this require a commitment to customer service that you may not have today? It absolutely does. But it's worth it. Now, I'm not suggesting that the customer is always right. I am suggesting that the customer should always be heard. There's 2 reasons why this makes sense. The first is that hugging your haters helps you keep your customers. Every person in this room has heard or knows firsthand that it is actually wiser and better to keep the customers you have instead of constantly trying to get new customers, right? Everybody who's been in business for 2 days or more knows that to be true. Yet, we do not run our businesses that same way. Almost nobody runs their business that way. In fact, globally, we spend each year approximately $500 billion a year on marketing and $9 billion a year on customer service. So what we know to be true, which is that it's wiser to try to keep the customers you've already acquired, is not how we actually fund and operate our businesses. And we do this despite the fact that we know, and research proves, that even a 5% increase in customer retention can increase profits by 25 to 85%. We get all concerned about people who complain, but realize that they're using their time. They're literally using their time to help make you better. That's a gift, right? That is absolutely a gift. We have to capitalize upon that gift. Haters are the ultimate canary in the coal mine. They are the early warning detection system for your business. And even though they can be annoying sometimes and it makes you feel bad because you take it personally because you're a human being, understand this important fact. 95% of dissatisfied customers never mention it to the business. Never. Not in social, not on the phone, not on email, not by skywriting, right? Not a hostage note. They never mention it to anybody, 95%. So these haters, the ones that actually do take the time to complain, what they really are the unelected representatives of the larger group of dissatisfied customers that I call the meh in the middle, right? The meh. The people who are like, I didn't really like it. And they just disappear. They never come back. Which is a tremendous, tremendous opportunity for all businesses. Because when you do answer back, you can blow their minds and win their hearts. One of the companies that's amazing at this, it's crazy, is Le Pain Quotidien. And they're a chain of about 200 cafes. They're based in Belgium, many locations in the US, primarily in the East. And their customer experience manager, Aaron Pepper, is really, really great at this. So when they do get a negative review on Yelp or TripAdvisor, those are the two sites that they would typically see, she does a very smart thing. She answers back in public all the time and says, "We're terribly sorry we disappointed you. Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to direct this to the store manager to make sure that these deficiencies can be corrected. We hope you give us another chance." You know, that general kind of response, which is definitely the way to go. But what she does next is what is so incredible, an idea that I want you to steal. So she answers them in public, and then a couple hours later, she answers again in private. Most of these review sites have a private messaging function. She messages them back in private and says, "You know, sir, I've been thinking, and you are a discerning customer. You see things that other people simply do not see. You have a gift. What I'd like you to do, with your permission, of course, I would like to send you 2 gift cards per month. And I'd like you to use these gift cards to visit a different Le Pain Quotidien location. And when you do, I'd like you to click this link and fill out this detailed survey of your experiences, because you have a rare ability to understand our business in a way that most of our customers simply do not understand." And it totally works. She has more than 100 of these secret shoppers visiting cafes every week all around the country. All it costs her is gift cards. She has successfully turned hate into help. So here's where we're at, friends. We've got massive fragmentation, massive competition, and totally insane customer expectation. Sounds like a recipe for success. So what do you do now? As a marketer, what do you do now? Well, here is my advice. I think you should stop trying to be amazing and just start being useful. Because the difference between help and hype is just one letter. But today, that one letter makes all the difference, because you can sell something and create a customer today, or you can help someone and potentially create a customer for life. And that's what everybody in this room is really trying to do. So that whole process from I would like to know this to I now know this took 7 seconds. 7 seconds. And it might have been the tequila talking, but I started to think afterwards, what would it have required to learn that before all of this? So I started to document the process. And I realized that the first thing I would have had to have done, first thing, would be to cancel some appointments, right? Because you'd have to get in the car and drive to a library and meet with a reference librarian who would have a book on actors and their roles, and you could look it up and cross-reference, maybe. So I figured that best case, back in the day, it would take you 4 hours to learn this. And some of you here are old enough to remember before, and you'll back me up on this. No sane, certainly no employed person would spend 4 hours on that. So you know what we used to do? It was an amazing time. Amazing time, this will blow you away. Here's what we used to do. We would just say, I don't know. That information is evidently unknowable, and the world kept spinning. Without trust, nothing else matters. Price doesn't matter. Customer service doesn't matter. Supply chain doesn't matter. Marketing certainly doesn't matter. Nothing matters without trust. And one of the best ways we found in my firm to gain and keep trust is by just being disproportionately open and honest. You can be a utility. Everyone here can be a utility. You can be a utility in your company. You can be a utility at your child's school. You can be a utility in your church. You can be a utility in your service organization, in anything in which you are involved. You can be the person that everybody else says, you know what? She's really useful. I want to spend more time with that person. We all know people like that, right? We can all be those people. You can be the person that makes everybody around you better. And the way to do that is not terribly difficult. The way to do it is every morning, as soon as you wake up, very first thing, before you run pee, before you brush your teeth, before you get out of bed, before you even check your phone, just ask yourself one question. How can I help? Now you get me. And I am just a man. I do not sing. I can't rock that hairstyle. And you could put on 3D glasses and festoon me with LEDs, and I would look exactly like this. But what I am is Jay Baer. I'm a social media and content strategist and your host, cruise director, and new best friend for this 3-day Smarter Commerce Global Summit right here in Nashville. Thank you all for being here. You know, the irony of all this is that we're using technology and big data so that we can treat customers not like a number. It's kind of interesting. I tell you, Craig, though, a year's worth of contact lenses, you are an optimist, my friend. That is a forward-looking purchase. Year. Many of you have heard of IBM's Watson. And Watson is not just a supercomputer. It is the most interesting supercomputer in the world. Dwight Howard uses Watson to decide who he's going to play in the NBA for. Lindsay Lohan uses Watson for relationship advice. And Chuck Norris uses Watson as a calculator, which seems like overkill. But now the amazing power of Watson is available to all companies. And Manoj Saxena from IBM's Watson Group is going to show us how it's done. But first, take a look at this. Thanks, Sir Terry. That is an inspirational tale. I love what you said at the beginning about if you have an affinity for your customer and they have an affinity for you, it gives you permission to take your business in a different direction. We've had a fantastic morning. The break is going to last till 10:45. Next sessions will begin right at 10:45. Sir Terry and I will be signing our books outside the presidential ballroom as soon as we're done here. And it actually makes a lot of sense because he is a knight, been knighted by the Queen, and my high school mascot was the Fighting Knight, so it's pretty much the same thing.